I'm not sure how to start this without sounding overly dramatic, but here goes. My name is Jake, and I've been married to Amanda for 5 years. It felt like the perfect relationship at first. We laughed together, shared dreams, and all the typical couple stuff. But I guess like any relationship, things started to change. Lately, Amanda had been acting different. I noticed subtle changes, late nights at work, vague excuses when I asked about her plans, and her phone seemed glued to her hand. I chalked it up to stress at her job. She's a marketing manager at a local firm, which can be demanding, and I wanted to be supportive. But deep down, a nagging voice kept telling me something wasn't right. The turning point came one night during dinner with her sister, Lisa. We were all laughing and reminiscing about old times when, out of nowhere, Lisa casually referred to Amanda as Mrs. Taylor. My heart sank. Taylor. That's not my last name. I shot Amanda a confused look, and I could see her face drain of color. "Who's Mrs. Taylor?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. The laughter in the room faded and silence fell like a weight. Amanda stammered, her eyes darting around like a deer caught in headlights. It's just a joke, babe, like Taylor Swift." She laughed weakly, but I didn't buy it. I felt my stomach twist. That night I confronted her. I demanded she tell me the truth, but all I got were half-hearted denials. "You're overreacting, Jake. Your mind is playing tricks on you," she insisted, rolling her eyes like I was being ridiculous. I wanted to believe her, but my gut told me otherwise. As days passed, the doubts festered. I started snooping. I wasn't proud of it, but I needed to know. I went through her phone while she was in the shower. What I found shattered me. Texts from a guy named Mark, filled with flirty emojis, inside jokes, and plans to meet up. My heart raced as I read every word. I wish I could say it was a clean break, but it was. When I confronted her again, she put on this act of innocence, claiming I was misunderstanding everything. "You're being paranoid, Jake. Mark is just a friend. You know how I get with my friends," she said, flipping her hair back as if that would distract me from the truth. Her excuses made me feel like I was losing my mind. Did I really marry someone who could lie so effortlessly? I felt angry, betrayed, and utterly heartbroken. I had given her everything, and now I was just some fool in her twisted little game. The emotional toll was immense. I went from shock to fury, and then to a deep sadness that wrapped itself around me like a heavy blanket. I spent nights tossing and turning, replaying every moment, every conversation, every laugh we shared. How could I have been so blindsided? Realization dawned on me. I had to make a decision. The love I once felt was suffocated by the weight of betrayal. I needed to figure out if there was any way back or if it was time to cut my losses. What hurt the most was knowing that I had trusted her completely, and now that trust felt like ash in my mouth. As I sat in silence, staring at the wall of our bedroom, I tried to envision a future without her. Could I really walk away? Or was there a glimmer of hope that we could rebuild? The answer was murky, but I knew I had to confront the reality of my situation sooner rather than later. I was tired of feeling like a pawn in her game. I had a lot to think about as I prepared for the next steps, but deep down, I knew this would be a defining moment in my life. I needed clarity, and I was ready to fight for it, whatever it took. The next few days felt like a blur. I was a man possessed, consumed by the need to uncover the truth. I didn't want to face Amanda until I had concrete evidence of her betrayal, something that would leave no room for her usual lies and excuses. I turned into a detective, researching everything I could about her social media, her friends, and this Mark character who seemed to have taken my wife away from me. I spent hours scrolling through her Facebook, Instagram, and even LinkedIn, looking for any connections that might lead me to the truth. It wasn't long before I discovered more than I bargained for. I found pictures of Amanda and Mark, pictures they had tagged each other in, photos from nights out, smiling faces and close embraces. Each click of the mouse felt like a dagger to my heart. How could she be so brazen? One night I ended up at a bar that I had seen in a post Amanda had liked. I thought maybe I'd find some answers there. I sat in a corner booth nursing a beer, scanning the crowd for any sign of her. As I waited, I couldn't help but feel both angry and pathetic, spending my night lurking in a place I had no business being. As luck would have it, I caught a glimpse of Amanda through the bar's window, laughing and talking animatedly with Mark. They were sitting at a table, oblivious to my presence just a few feet away. It felt like a punch to the gut. They seemed so comfortable, so familiar with each other. I watched as Amanda leaned closer to him, her laughter ringing in my ears like a twisted melody. The betrayal cut deeper than any knife could. I had to leave before I said something I'd regret. I drove home in a haze, my mind racing with thoughts of confrontation, rage boiling inside me. When I arrived, Amanda was already in bed, pretending to be asleep. I stood in the doorway, staring at the woman I thought I knew, my heart torn between love and anger. I needed to confront her, but I also needed to be strategic. I didn't want to give her the upper hand. The following day, I decided to take a different approach. Instead of confronting her with accusations, I wanted to see if she would slip up again. I played it cool, acting as if everything was normal. I went through our routine, making breakfast, chatting about our plans for the weekend, all the while keeping a close eye on her reactions. I noticed she was jumpy, glancing at her phone every few minutes as if waiting for a text. It was an obvious tell, and it only fueled my resolve. That afternoon, I came up with a plan. I texted Amanda pretending to be a friend from college, someone she hadn't spoken to in ages. "Hey, Amanda. Just checking in. We should grab a drink sometime. It's been too long." I didn't expect her to respond immediately, but she replied within seconds, "OMG, yes, I'd love to, let's set something up." What I didn't expect was for her to start texting Mark right after. I watched her face light up as she rapidly typed and sent messages, her expression morphing from distracted to excited. I felt a bitter taste of rage and sadness wash over me. She was lying to me, and she was doing it so easily, as if it were nothing. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I decided to confront her that evening, armed with everything I had discovered. I needed to catch her off guard, so I made sure she was relaxed. I planned a nice dinner, complete with her favorite meal, chicken parmesan and a bottle of red wine. When we sat down to eat, I watched her eagerly devour the food, seemingly unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface. After a few minutes of small talk, I steeled my resolve. "So, how was work today?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Oh, you know the usual," she replied, taking a sip of her wine. "Busy, but I managed." "Busy with Mark?" I asked, the words spilling out before I could them in. Her fork clattered to the plate and her eyes widened in shock. "What are you talking about?" she stammered, her voice rising an octave. "Don't play games with me, Amanda. I know everything," I said, my heart pounding. I felt a wave of adrenaline rush through me, empowering me to lay out the evidence I'd gathered. I didn't want to shout or lose my cool. I wanted her to feel the weight of her lies. Her face contorted into a mask of anger, and she slammed her hands on the table. "You're insane. You're just jealous of my success, Jake." Something inside me snapped. I had never seen her so defensive, so aggressive. "Jealous? Of what, Amanda? Your ability to cheat on me without a second thought." She sat back, her eyes narrowing. "This is ridiculous. You're grasping at straws. You need to trust me." Trust. The word echoed painfully in my mind. I realized then that this wasn't just about the affair. It was about the crumbling foundation of our entire relationship. How could she expect me to trust her after everything? I took a deep breath, trying to collect my thoughts. "You need to be honest with me, Amanda. I can handle the truth, but I can't handle your lies anymore." As we sat there in silence, I knew that nothing would ever be the same again. I was ready to face the truth, whatever it may be. The emotional impact of the situation washed over me, leaving me feeling raw and exposed. I was on the brink of something monumental, and I could only hope that whatever happened next would lead me to clarity. The silence that hung between us was deafening. Amanda's expression morphed from anger to uncertainty, and for a brief moment I thought I saw a flicker of guilt cross her face. But it vanished almost as quickly as it appeared, replaced by a stubborn pride. "Fine, Jake. If you want to throw our marriage away over a misunderstanding, be my guest," she said defiantly, pushing her chair back and standing up. I watched her pace around the room, her arms crossed as if she were trying to shield herself from the truth. "You think you can just accuse me like this and it won't have consequences? How dare you?" I felt a surge of frustration. "No, Amanda, You've been lying to me for who knows how long. I'm not just going to sit here and pretend everything is fine when I know you've been seeing someone else." Her face twisted in anger and she shot back, "I'm not seeing anyone else. You're just projecting your insecurities on me because you can't handle my success." She was grasping at straws, and deep down I knew it. Success has nothing to do with this. I shouted, unable to contain my emotions any longer. "This is about trust, and you've shattered that trust." I watched as she took a deep breath, her demeanor shifting as she realized I wasn't backing down. "Fine, Jake. If you want the truth, I'll give it to you," she said, suddenly calm. "But I don't think you're ready for it." Her words hung in the air like a challenge. I felt my heart race, a mix of dread and anticipation washing over me. "Try me," I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. She sat back down. Her eyes filled with a mixture of defiance and something that looked a lot like regret. "Yes, I've been texting Mark, but it's not what you think. We're just friends, Jake. It's nothing serious." "Nothing serious," I scoffed. "You're laughing with him, meeting him outside of work, and you call that nothing. If it were nothing, why hide it from me?" Her facade started to crumble and she pressed her hands to her face, groaning in frustration. "You don't understand. Mark gets me. He listens to me when I complain about my job, something you never do. You're so focused on your own problems and insecurities that you don't see how alone I feel." The weight of her words hit me like a freight train. I had been so wrapped up in my own feelings of betrayal and confusion that I hadn't taken a step back to see her side of things. But that didn't excuse her actions. "So, instead of talking to me about it, you chose to betray me with someone else. That's your solution. Maybe I wouldn't have had to if you had been more supportive." She shot back, her voice rising again. "You're just as much to blame for this as I am." Anger surged through me, but I forced myself to breathe, to stay calm. "I can't believe you would turn this around on me. I've been here, Amanda, giving you everything I have. I thought we were a team." "Team? Is that what we are?" She laughed bitterly. "You don't even see me anymore. You just see a wife who fits into your neat little life. Don't you think I want more than that?" The conversation had spiraled into chaos, emotions boiling over as we both tried to grapple with our feelings. My heart was breaking, not just from the betrayal but from the realization that we had both failed each other in different ways. I took a moment to collect my thoughts, fighting back the tears that threatened to spill. "I thought we were building a future together, Amanda, but this is not how you do it. You don't destroy someone because you feel unfulfilled." She fell silent, her eyes narrowing as if she were finally processing my words. "So, what do we do now? Just end it?" "I don't know," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "I need time to think. You've shattered my trust, and I don't know if I can ever get it back." The weight of my decision loomed heavy over me. I had a choice to make. Did I want to fight for this marriage, or was it time to walk away? I felt lost in a sea of emotions, struggling to find a way to navigate through the storm. As I stood there, staring into Amanda's eyes, I realized how vulnerable we both were. We were at a crossroads, and the choices we made in the coming days would define the rest of our lives. I felt a mixture of anger and sadness, but deep down, I knew I needed to find a resolution, one way or another. "I'll give you some space," I finally said, my heart heavy. "I need to clear my head and figure out what I want." She nodded, her expression softening slightly, though the tension lingered in the air. I turned away, my mind racing with thoughts of what could be next. I knew I had to figure out how to move forward, whether that meant rebuilding our marriage or letting it go. Both options felt terrifying, but I was determined to find a path that would lead to clarity, even if it meant confronting painful truths I wasn't ready to face. The ensuing days felt like an eternity. I needed space, but the silence in our house was deafening. Every creak of the floorboards, every tick of the clock, only reminded me of the emptiness that had seeped into our once vibrant home. I tried to keep myself busy with work, throwing myself into tasks that allowed me to forget, even for a moment, the chaos brewing in my personal life. But it was futile. My mind was a swirling storm of anger, sadness, and confusion. I replayed our conversations over and over, dissecting every word, every argument, trying to understand where it all went wrong. I felt like I was living in a fog, unable to see clearly, trapped in a limbo of my own making. After a few days of avoidance, I finally decided to reach out to a friend, Mike. someone I trusted implicitly. I needed an outside perspective, someone to help me navigate the mess I was in. We met at our usual bar, a low-key place where I could drown my sorrows among familiar faces and the comforting presence of a cold beer. As I sat across from Mike, I recounted everything, the late nights, the texts, the confrontation with Amanda. I watched as his brow furrowed in concentration, his expression shifting from concern to disbelief. "Dude, this is a mess," he said, shaking his head. "You deserve better. Have you thought about what you really want?" I sighed, staring into my beer. "I don't know, man. Part of me wants to fight for her. We've built so much together. But then I think about the lies, the betrayal, and I feel sick." Mike leaned forward, his voice steady. "Look, Jake, you need to ask yourself if you can really forgive her. Trust is foundational in a relationship. If that's broken, can you rebuild it? It's a tough call." I nodded, feeling the weight of his words. "I just don't want to throw everything away without giving it a fair shot. But I don't know if I can ever look at her the same way again. Maybe you need to take a step back and see how she reacts. If she's serious about making things right, she'll prove it," he suggested, giving me a resolute look. When I got home that evening, Amanda was waiting for me in the living room. She looked different, anxious, maybe even a little desperate. I could sense that she had been through her own turmoil in the days we spent apart. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice softer than I had heard in a while. I nodded, bracing myself for another round of emotional upheaval. "Sure, I think we need to." We sat on opposite ends of the couch, a chasm of unspoken words and hurt between us. I could see the tears brimming in her eyes, and for a moment I felt a flicker of compassion. But it was quickly overshadowed by the anger that still simmered within me. "I've been thinking a lot," she began, her voice trembling, "about us and what happened. I know I messed up and I'm so sorry, Jake. I never meant to hurt you. I don't know. I felt lost." Her admission hit me like a wave. I wanted to reach out to comfort her, but I held back, trying to maintain my resolve. "You had a funny way of showing it," I replied, my tone more biting than I intended. I know it was wrong, but you have to understand I felt so alone," she continued, her voice breaking. "I thought you were too focused on your job to notice me. I didn't know how to talk to you, so I turned to Mark. It was a mistake, a stupid mistake, and I regret it every day." I watched her, torn between wanting to believe her and the voice in my head screaming that I should run. "I don't know if I can just forget that, Amanda. You put everything we had at risk." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I know, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to fix this. I'll cut ties with Mark right now if that's what you want. I'll go to counseling, I'll do anything, but please don't give up on me. Don't give up on us." Her desperation tugged at my heart, and I realized how vulnerable she truly was in that moment. But vulnerability doesn't erase betrayal, I reminded myself. "It's not that simple," I said, my voice softer now. "You can't just say you're sorry and expect everything to go back to normal. I don't want normal, I want to rebuild what we had, but I need your help. I'm willing to fight for you, for us. I just need you to meet me halfway." Her words resonated with me, but doubt still filled my mind. "I need time to think," I replied, standing up and packing the room. "I can't make any promises right now." Amanda stood up too, her eyes searching mine. "I understand. Just, please don't shut me out, okay? I love you, Jake. I don't want to lose you." "I love you too," I admitted, feeling the weight of the words. "But love isn't enough if trust is broken." There was a long silence as we both wrestled with the gravity of our situation. I could see the turmoil in her eyes, and as much as I wanted to reach out, I felt like I needed to hold my ground. We were at a crossroads, and I knew that the decisions we made in the coming days would determine the future of our relationship. As I lay in bed that night, I wrestled with my thoughts. I thought about the love we had once shared, the laughter, the dreams, and the life we had built together. I also thought about the betrayal, the lies, and the uncertainty of our future. I wanted to believe in second chances, but my heart was heavy with doubt. I fell into a fitful sleep, knowing that whatever decision I would make, it had to come from a place of clarity, not impulse. I needed to find a path that would lead to healing, whether that meant working through the pain together or letting go. The next few days would be crucial, and I hoped I could find the strength to face whatever was ahead. The next few days felt like a tense waiting game. Amanda and I navigated a fragile truce, both of us tiptoeing around the elephant in the room. I could see the effort she was putting into repairing our relationship, but I felt stuck in my own emotional quicksand, unsure of how to move forward. I went back to work, trying to escape the turmoil at home, but my mind was a constant whirlwind of thoughts. I couldn't focus on anything, and my productivity plummeted. Mike checked in on me, and I found myself venting to him more than I intended. "I just don't know if I can trust her again," I confessed one afternoon over coffee. "She's saying all the right things, but how do I know she means it?" "Trust takes time to rebuild, Jake. It's not just about what she says, it's about what she does from here on out. If she's serious, she'll show it," he advised, his tone encouraging. I nodded, but the path ahead felt murky. I didn't want to rush into anything, especially when my heart was still raw from the betrayal. That evening, Amanda brought home a book on rebuilding trust in relationships. "I thought we could read it together," she said, her eyes hopeful. I appreciated the gesture, but part of me felt overwhelmed. "I think we need to take it one step at a time," I replied. "Let's not force anything." Over the next few days, Amanda made a genuine effort to reconnect. She cooked dinner, planned outings, and even started sharing her feelings with me more openly. I saw glimpses of the woman I fell in love with, but I also couldn't shake the nagging voice in my head reminding me of her betrayal. It felt like walking a tightrope, balancing hope and doubt with every interaction. Then came the night that would change everything. I arrived home from work to find Amanda sitting at the dining table, a stack of papers in front of her. "I've been thinking a lot," she said, her voice steady. "I think it might help if I explain everything, even the parts you don't know about." I raised an eyebrow, curiosity piqued. "What do you mean?" She took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. "I told you about Mark and how he listened to me when I felt alone, but there's more. It wasn't just about him. It was about me feeling lost in our relationship. I was so focused on what I thought you were doing wrong that I ignored the parts I could have changed. I let myself get too close to him because I wanted someone to validate me." I felt a mix of emotions. Frustration simmered alongside my desire to understand. "But you still chose to cheat, Amanda. That's a choice you made, I know, and I regret it every single day," she said, tears forming in her eyes. "But I want you to know that I'm willing to do more than just talk about it. I want to show you that I can change." I studied her face, searching for sincerity. "What do you mean?" "I want to go to counseling. I think it'll help us work through our issues in a safe environment where we can't just brush things under the rug," she proposed, her eyes earnest. Counseling. The idea was both terrifying and promising. Part of me felt skeptical, worried that it would just be another empty promise. But another part of me recognized that we needed help. We couldn't keep doing this dance forever. "I'm willing to try," I said slowly, measuring my words. "But I need to see real change. I can't keep living in a state of uncertainty. If we're doing this, we both have to commit fully." Her face lit up with hope. "I promise I will. I'll do anything to earn back your trust." The following week, we began attending counseling sessions, and while it was challenging, it also felt like a necessary step in the healing process. Sitting across from a therapist, we were forced to confront our issues head-on. Each session brought up uncomfortable truths, but it also opened lines of communication that had been sorely lacking. One night, after a particularly tense session, I sat on the couch, exhausted. Amanda joined me, her expression vulnerable. "I know I've hurt you and I can't take that back," she said quietly. "But I want to work for a better future together. I don't want to lose you." "I don't want to lose you either," I admitted, feeling a flicker of hope amidst the pain. "But it's going to take time. I can't rush this." We spent the evening talking, sharing memories, laughter, and even tears. For the first time since everything had fallen apart, I felt a hint of the connection we once shared. But the shadow of betrayal still lingered, reminding me that rebuilding trust was an uphill battle. As weeks went by, I noticed small but significant changes in Amanda. She was more present, more engaged in our conversations, and she made an effort to include me in her life. I tried to reciprocate by being open about how I felt, though it was often difficult. There were days when anger bubbled to the surface, and I found myself questioning if we were really on the right path. One evening after a long day, I returned home to find Amanda waiting for me with dinner ready. She smiled brightly and it warmed my heart. Yet beneath the surface, I still felt the weight of our past, a heavy burden that wouldn't lift easily. "Jake, can we talk?" she said, her voice tentative. "Sure," I replied, sensing the seriousness in her tone. "I know things are still rocky between us, but I want you to know how committed I am to making this work. I've been reflecting on everything, and I just want to make sure we're both on the same page." I nodded, appreciating her honesty. "I've been thinking about it too. I want to believe we can get through this, but I'm still scared." "I understand. I'm scared too," she admitted. "I just want you to know that I'm in this for the long haul. I want to be the partner you deserve." We sat in silence for a moment, both contemplating the gravity of our situation. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time I felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps we could rediscover each other and rebuild what had been lost. But I also knew that the scars of betrayal wouldn't heal overnight, and it would take time and effort from both of us. As I gazed into Amanda's eyes, I realized that while the journey ahead would be daunting, it was a journey worth taking, if we were both willing to fight for it. As the weeks turned into months, the delicate task of rebuilding our relationship continued. We ventured into counseling together regularly, and with each session, I felt layers of our pain slowly peel away. Amanda was committed to showing me that she was serious about change, and I could see her making a genuine effort. But as much as I wanted to believe in a renewed future, there were still moments when doubt crept in. One particular evening, we were sitting on the couch, wrapped in a blanket while watching a movie. I glanced over at Amanda, who was laughing at a scene, her laughter infectious. It reminded me of the early days in our relationship when everything felt easy and light. Yet those moments of joy were often coupled with a gnawing fear in the back of my mind. Was this just a facade? Would she break my heart again? "Hey," she said, turning to face me, her expression serious. "I know things are better, but I can feel the tension still lingering between us. Are you okay?" I hesitated, considering my words carefully. "I'm trying, Amanda. I really am. I want us to work, but sometimes I can't shake the feeling that what we had is broken." Her eyes softened. "I get that. I know it's going to take time, but I promise you I'm not going anywhere. I'm committed to making this work, and I'll prove it to you day by day." "I appreciate that," I replied, my voice steady. "But I need you to understand that it's not just about saying the right things. I need to see actions backing up those words." "I promise I'll show you," she said, sincerity radiating from her. "I'm willing to work hard for us, and I hope you can be patient with me." Patience. It felt like a daunting task, but I realized I didn't want to give up on us just yet. After all the heartache, I still loved her. And amidst the pain, I could see glimpses of the woman I fell in love with, a woman I wanted to fight for. As the months rolled on, we found ourselves rediscovering each other. We started to go on small weekend trips, exploring places we had never been together. The laughter returned, albeit cautiously, as we created new memories to cover the cracks of our past. There were still difficult conversations, still moments of vulnerability where we had to confront lingering doubts, but we faced them together. One evening, after returning home from a weekend away, I felt a sense of lightness in the air. I turned to Amanda, who was busy unpacking our bags. "You know, I think we're actually doing this," I said, a genuine smile spreading across my face. She paused and looked over at me, a spark of joy in her eyes. "Doing what? Building a new marriage?" "Yeah," I replied. "It feels like we're really trying. It's not perfect, but we're working on it." "Exactly," she said, her voice filled with warmth. "We're learning, growing, and I believe we're on the right path. I love you, Jake." "I love you too," I said, my heart swelling with emotion. It was during one of those quiet, ordinary moments that I realized an important truth. Trust takes time, effort, and a willingness to be vulnerable. I had to acknowledge my own fears and doubts, just as Amanda needed to face hers. Our journey wasn't going to be without its challenges, but we were committed to walking it together. As I watched her smile, the weight of the past felt a little lighter. There would be days when the shadows of betrayal would creep back in, but I also knew that we could face them together. We were both committed to rebuilding our trust, brick by brick, even when it felt overwhelming. I learned that love is not just a feeling, It's an action, a choice made every single day. It's understanding and forgiveness, but also accountability and hard work. I discovered that relationships aren't always perfect, but they can be beautiful in their imperfections if both people are willing to put in the effort. In the end, I realized that life would keep throwing challenges our way, but as long as we faced them together, we could overcome anything. Love is resilient, and so are we. I was grateful for the journey we embarked on, despite the pain. I had learned valuable lessons about trust, forgiveness, and the power of love. And as I sat there with Amanda, I felt a renewed sense of hope for our future, one that was built on honesty, understanding, and a deeper connection than I ever thought possible. We were ready to face whatever came next, hand in hand.